Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey, and I'm here with my co-host, Eric Pierce, the editor of the Downey Patriot, and you're watching to Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric. Long time no see, Mario.
Yeah, good morning. It's good to see you, sir.
Yeah, you too.
So, yeah.
I just want to jump right into it because we're talking about Chick-Fil-A today. We're talking about Frantones today.
By the way, who are we sponsored by?
We're sponsored by Financial Partners Credit Union.
Yes, thank you for keeping us going and helping make it just possible to be on the air.
They were our very first sponsor, and they are still a sponsor, and we're proud to have them.
Thank you for all you do for our community. So I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
No, so we're talking to you about Chick-fil-A, Frantones, and Chris's Burgers, because we don't want to forget about them. So we mentioned this before, but there's been some news, and you're actually very involved in this. Chick-fil-A last week, they submitted their plans to open on the site of what is now Frantones over on Telegraph. It's controversial, but to a lesser degree, I think it's more memories. But it's official. You know, Frantones will be closing along with Chris's Burgers. We're gonna get another Chick-fil-A. It'll be the third one in Downey. The demand is there. You now are on the planning commission.
Yes, sir.
So you voted on this. You were involved in the process. What can you say about it?
Sure. Well, I can say everything, especially it was a public hearing for it. It took a couple hours. You had some of the neighbors there to make their points and so forth. You had the property owners there, and you had Chick-fil-A, the representative, and the traffic consultants and mitigation on there. So at first you do have the concerns because, and I told them, Chick-fil-A is a victim of their own success. So you have the one on Firestone Boulevard over there and right here and right next to the school, and it's very successful. I was literally mayor when we dedicated the ribbon cutting. And then they opened the second one location on Imperial Highway, Imperial and Lakewood. And boy, I tell you, from it seems a disaster parking wise there. I mean, they're going to have a hard time renting out the rest of the things in that little strip shopping center that I don't know if they own or not.
You're talking about the one on Imperial?
Imperial and Lakewood, because you can't get out of there.
Right.
So, good for South Downey. They have that. So this one's the opposite direction. Okay, this is over on Telegraph. And it's going to go in a place where, a beloved establishment is, Frantones. We've all grown up at Frantones. We've all had special celebrations. I took my wife on Valentine's Day this year. They do a heart-shaped pizza. It's just, you walk in and you're like, this is homey.
Yeah.
Good food, lots of food.
It's like old classic Downey.
Yeah. So many events and things that have happened there and so forth. But what really swayed me, and you have neighbors behind there that are concerned about the parking, about the noise or the cars in the queue.
Very valid concern.
Very valid concern. And then you have other neighbors that came because, cars coming out on Serapis there, and, where the school is and so forth. Those are some of the main concerns.
Right.
We ask a lot of questions to staff and then the Chick-fil-A folks. And when I asked them how they chose Downey and that location, they said, well, we didn't, believe it or not. The owners did, and they're here. So the owners of Frantone, which own the property there.
And the restaurant.
They came up, okay, and they said, we're tired. We want to close out. We want to end this legacy here. We're going to keep the Cerritos store open. They made that clear. This is the two brothers. But we reached out to Chick-fil-A because they're a good company. And so we're very happy with this, and it was our doing. So it took away the big bad corporation putting out our favorite sons out of business on there because it was their choice. So even though we didn't have a right to say anything about it, that makes it even a harder vote because it's more nostalgic than we gotta save Frantones. They don't want to be saved. They purposely did this.
And I don't know the specifics, but I would guess that financially Frantones, the owners they got paid.
Sure,
You know,
and they're both getting on in years, and they should. They worked hard.
They're cashing out.
Yeah, and they should. That's their right. And I said that too. I said that in my final comments. Look, we can only do on findings and make things better on there. And the Planning Commission is not the city council. There's very strict things that you can do and not do. And one of them is we can't choose the proprietor, on that, as long as it meets certain things and certain qualifications in the findings. It's not doesn't detrimental to the neighborhood or establishment or our city ethics or whatever. So, I said, this will be our third one. People are saying, oh, why do we need 3 Chick-fil-A's? Well, they're nowhere near each other. We get that too. And that'll serve a whole different, North Downey and also serve, parts of Pico Rivera. Good for them. But I brought it up. I literally said, listen, we have 7 McDonald's in the city of Downey. We have 7 McDonald's. And I said, you know whose fault that is? Ours. The residents. The residents of Downey. McDonald's is not stupid. They're not going to put the 7th if we're supporting the other 6. Right? And if a corner in the city of Downey or any lot is zoned for fast food, we can't say we want an Arby's, we want a Jack in the Box, we don't want a McDonald's. You can't do that. It's against the law. And property owners should have the right to pick their best deal in this case, or who they want. They value Chick-fil-A. They like their company values and their food. So they did that. Yeah.
I don't know about the values, but I do have concerns about, if I was living in that neighborhood, I would definitely be concerned. And this is going away from Frentones because, I think we're all sad to see Frentones go, but this was their choice. Had nothing to do with the city. But putting a Chick-fil-A in that location, it seems like a bad idea to me, being just from an amateur perspective, because they generate so much traffic. It seemed like it's going to be a nightmare. And that small street, I don't know if it's going to be equipped to handle that traffic. I think it's going to be a nightmare getting out onto Telegraph from Chick-fil-A. And there's a school right there, too. There's an elementary school there, too. I don't know. I mean, there's people much smarter than me at City Hall who approved this plan, but I'm concerned about that location.
Well, all those things are valid, and they were all discussed in detail. So right now, to go in on Serapis, there's actually 3 driveways to get out. It's going to get condensed to 1. So that actually takes away the thought, because now you got to watch 3 times. And we saw finally a Google thing on there where you got the parents walking their kids, stopping for one car, walking their kids, stopping for another driveway. So the only time that it is a serious concern is when school's out, and that's not their peak hour. So all those things were discussed. There is a light on the corner of Telegraph and Serapis.
And it's a terrible light, too.
Well, that's a whole different story.
It is, because if you guys ever been in that light, it's red for like 5 minutes straight.
Well, then I didn't know that, but that's a good argument, and that could be fixed easily.
And I know, because I get my burritos and chili fries
from Pepe's.
No, from Chris's Burgers.
Oh, Chris's Burgers. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well, that's something you should have complained on the Downey app. The Downey app.
I know.
There is a Downey app.
I think that's Pico Rivera, though. The light is Pico Rivera, because you're on Serapis, however I pronounce it, and the red light is across the street, so that would be technically Pico Rivera.
Okay,
just something to
let me consider. Right. Yeah. So the one thing that, and there's some neighbors that came and spoke about it, some very much against the whole thing, period. But some were like, we like Chick-fil-A. This is good for our families, blah, blah, blah. Please make it safer. And we're worried about the school. Valid concern. So my biggest concern, and until the traffic consultant showed us totally different pictures, because is the retaining wall on the back where the queuing of the cars is going to be, right? There's a 3-foot one, and then there's supposed to be a 10-foot one on there. So I was kind of worried, how does that work? And if you're on the other side, and finally they showed us the other side is literally all the garages of a condo project on there. So there's nobody sleeping back there. There's somebody's backyard. Over on the west side of that, there are 2 houses that it impacts. And what we also told them, what the requirements the city planning commission was able to do, and we had a discussion with the lawyers, with them, and they were the operator was very agreeable. Of course, they want to make it. They don't want the ill will of the city or the community there. So they're going to make the wall as high as possible. and also add landscaping that is also as much noise resistant but as high as possible. So you mitigate some of the things. It's not perfect, but the parking lot, it's only a single restaurant. You're going from 2 restaurants to 1.
Right.
And yes, the restaurants are always crazy. Chick-fil-A, it's going to have a little outdoor seating, which I thought that was kind of cool too, to encourage more to stay there. It's got, it needed 54 parking spots. It's got 61 parking spots. So
it's the volume, and I'm not doubting the city of doing their due diligence and doing the best that they can to mitigate any potential issues, but I just still have my doubts that that site can handle the volume of cars that Chick-fil-A typically receives.
So what would you have done?
I don't think that's an appropriate site for a Chick-fil-A.
So you would have told the owners, no, you can't, because I think that you have too much traffic?
Yeah. Okay. Because it would have been detrimental to the neighborhood. Mario, if you lived in that neighborhood, guaranteed you would be against it.
Right.
Have you been to the Chick-fil-A on Imperial and Lakewood? That was a little bit different because it's not so close.
And there's no housing back there.
There's no housing.
I get it.
But this one is really...
But I won't go to that one because I couldn't get my car out. I've been there twice. And that one is worse from a part. Forget the neighbors. It's just terrible to get in and out.
It is.
So the one in Imperial, it's funny is some gentleman, one of the homeowners that was really mad, that kept yelling. He almost got thrown out of the hearing on there, and he started yelling at me. I needed to disqualify myself because I said earlier, "Gosh, I love Chick-fil-A." I said I love Frantone's more. If it was my choice, I'd say no. You got to keep Frantone. I'd rather have Frantone.
Yeah, but we don't have that choice.
Well, you don't have that choice. Well, that's my whole point. We don't have that choice there, and so you need to work it as best as possible. So they have a traffic consultant, they had a parking consultant, they had all these people on there, and they were on the phone, and along with the Chick-fil-A people were there in person. So they wanted to do the best, and the city made them change several things to mitigate things. All the traffic studies that they did, they had to do them over all this period of time, and from 2 to 3, or when school's out, that's the busiest time. That does not correspond with their busy times. So they did all the analysis. And the one thing is, the planning commission is different. There's only certain things you can say for findings. The key word is called findings, right? If they don't qualify with A, B, C, D, E, F on the finding, and the city staff explains it and goes through it, there was no legal basis for us saying, oh, you're going to have too much traffic there, based when we already have professional studies that says that it's going to be fine.
Look, you can. I'm not trying to argue with you. You can hire. I don't need a professional traffic study to tell me that common sense says that site is not suitable for a Chick-fil-A and the traffic.
Do you know how big that site is?
Like square footage? I don't know.
Okay, that's the problem.
I don't know.
You don't. You think on that because you got the Frantones is a pretty big restaurant. Chick-fil-A is going to be smaller than Frantones. Take away Chris's, move the thing back. That's the whole point. Is when common sense says, but the facts are there where the square footage of the restaurant is actually smaller than Frantone's. So I get the parking thing, but Frantone's only has 10 parking in the front.
The Chick-fil-A on Firestone by Downey High School, I'm sure went through the same process. Drive by there at lunchtime, the lines are coming out onto Firestone.
Absolutely.
Same thing's going to happen on Telegraph. Same exact thing's going to happen.
You want the answer to that? That lot is twice the size of this one. And there's no habit. It's all by itself. So again, I'm just trying to make the argument. First of all, we don't have the right to say no.
I understand.
Because all the things are there.
Because you have the numbers in front of you.
The numbers are right there. And number two, the Frantones family, we can't tell them, Eric and Mario think it's going to be too busy. We don't want, you know what I'm saying? They have a right as property owners on there. So we have to wait and see on there. And there was literally 2 homes that are even backed up to that. The traffic in the neighborhood, I understand that, but three driveways to 1. 2 restaurants to 1. Their square footage less.
No, but you can't say it's only 2 houses that are being affected because there's a whole neighborhood back there.
Right, but it's condominiums. It's condominiums on there.
But they're homes. Yeah, they're families.
No, I understand. But with the traffic, they're going to be coming on Serapis or Serapis.
Right.
How do you pronounce
I don't know.
Okay, all right. Well,
that's a Pico Rivera thing.
Yeah, well, no, that's in the Downey side. The school back there is in Downey.
I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I don't know.
Serapis, and whatever. Anyway. But yeah, no, we didn't have the legal right. We did the best we could, and the neighbors got to be heard. We actually, the one gentleman that was actually really mad kept yelling, and the city attorney had to tell him, and he just kept asking, "You're a liar to the Chick-fil-A people. You're a liar, and and here's the number. Oh, it's going to be a 10-foot wall. You're lying. It's only 6 feet.
Yeah,
well, it's like they're not going to be lying about. Anyways. So he was very vocal about it, and I understand. I mean, it's going to be behind him on the west side, but we were actually on his side. And he kept getting madder at us, but we were asking staff, how do we make things better for folks like him and stuff. So we did. We made the things we could do, the conditions, higher wall, noise reducing on there, and keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of attention has been on Frantones, and rightfully so. Yeah. But they're making the decision to sell. I do feel bad for the owners, the family owners of Chris's Burgers.
Yeah.
Because they weren't ready to sell.
Right.
This is
they have like 3 or 4 other ones, right?
I'm not sure.
No, they do.
I'm not sure.
I think they have a few.
I know
and
they have local. Sure. Yeah, and they have Downey ties.
We know the son on there. He's right upstairs in the building on there. Good families and so forth.
Really good family. I do feel bad for them because this is their business and this isn't their choice, and so I do feel bad for them.
Right.
But
I heard the city has been working with the family trying to help them relocate somewhere here in the city.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing is, folks. So people think that the city can give people money. Okay, or says, okay, Trader Joe's, come here and we'll write you a check. Okay, the cities can't do that. They don't do that. What they can do is entice you by, look, we'll help you find a location. Right. We'll help you with the permitting process. We'll help you with the process to how to build and what to do and so forth. We can hold your hand somewhat on there, but they can't do other things. One of the few deals that I made on there was the Benihanas. When we wanted them at the promenade, because Benihana's is a nice destination place at the little cachet there and stuff. So we wanted them. So what we did was give them a tax deal. We didn't give them money. We didn't lower their taxes. We basically said on the future taxes. So so on the future taxes over a 10-year period, you can do this, this, and that if you do this, this, and that, and meaning in sales and the whole thing. So all it is them paying less of a higher amount. So for us, I mean, we had zero on it. Okay, so by them making so much tax revenue because they're a totally different restaurant than other people, so we still won. We got more than the city, the residents, got more than what normally we would have got from a restaurant, and they lowered their nut on the higher end of it. So,
well, and I'm hoping, I'm glad to hear that the city is trying to help Chris's Burgers because it would be nice to keep them here.
Of course, they're good people, very good people, and that's the sad part. All these people are good people. You work hard. When you have a business. I mean, I had my own business and I sold it, and so I know that. I know what it's like to write when your name's on the front of a check. And it's disheartening, especially if circumstances dictate that you don't get to do what you want to do or on your own time. I sold my business to cash out at that time on there because it was just a great opportunity, not that it was the time. Yeah. If it hadn't been that great of opportunity, I'm still working. I'm not that old,
Yeah. We'll see. I do want to visit Frantones one last time, maybe this summer before they close, and to probably say goodbye. One more pizza before they go.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? You know what I didn't realize till Valentine's Day, they don't deliver. They don't deliver pizza. No. So I just think, my gosh, that could have been, now they're just tired. Yeah. But that could have been another 50 to 60 pizzas a day. Yeah. If you think about it, just having a delivery guy. Yeah. So, but that was just their model.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell them how to run their business, but they closed their Norwalk location, now their Downey location. I don't know if there's Cerritos.
They came to the planning commission and Anthony said, and by the way, the Cerritos one is still going to be open. That's what he said. So
that's what he said. We'll see.
I know.
I hope it's true.
Why are you doubting them?
Because they've already closed their 2 other locations. If they're tired, why would they keep their Cerritos
because
location?
Now they can put all their resources of employees and everything else.
I don't know. It sounds to me like they're just trying to make the city happy. But I don't know. We'll see. But there's nothing we can do. It doesn't matter.
It wouldn't have mattered to us or to the city if they were closing Cerritos.
No, I know. It doesn't matter. I think they're trying to keep the public happy. Like, hey, we still have our Cerritos location.
No, I think he was saying it from a business standpoint. Hey, we're still there. Come eat over here.
I hope it's true.
I know. I don't. Yeah. Anyways.
I don't know.
So, anyways.
Well, you being on the planning commission, I think brings another dimension in terms of your perspective. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. We usually do city council recaps on these episodes, and maybe we can start recapping planning commission meetings if you're okay with it, because they're kind of interesting sometimes.
Right. Well, you get to see what's coming up. Like you said, it's interesting because I think my biggest experience, and I appreciate Councilman Hector Sosa pointing to me to this, and what he told me is, look, you have passion for the city, and you have institutional knowledge, okay, and your ethics are not questioned. So he goes, that's what he wanted as a planning commissioner representing him, and so I'm honored that he chose me. The interesting thing is you get to see you're a different side of the brain.
Yeah.
You can't be an activist on the planning commission. You have to do by findings or certain.
It's very black and white.
Very black and white. You're more judge than you're over there on the city council. You're promoting. You want things on there. You're a legislator.
Sure.
You're doing all these kind of things.
You're creating policies.
You're creating policy. So here you're following the policy. So totally different. But you can make changes.
Right.
I mean, again, hopefully they're effective, but you can make requirements on a property owner.
Right.
Put higher walls.
Sure.
Put better landscaping. Put a light, this and that. So the other two things, and oh my gosh, and I felt so bad. There's a mosque on South Downey. Okay, by the way, we have two mosques in Downey. I didn't know about this one. Came in 2007 in the city. And at first, when the whole city, a planning commission, you don't have crowds like you have the city council.
Yeah.
We've had a public hearing, you get 3 people, right?
Sure.
The applicants or so. So it was packed. And then I'm kind of like, okay, they're here protesting the Chick-Fil-A or what it is. You don't make any determinations on that.
Right.
But unfortunately, it was the third thing on the agenda. The first one was on Lorena to tear down this single-family dwelling and make it into 8 units. But it's Lorena surrounded by 2 apartments, so it's
already multifamily.
It's already multifamily. The only thing that's really bad on that is the governor in the state of California. When you add an ADU, you don't need to have parking for it.
Yeah. That's the state mandate.
And it's terrible. I mean, so there was 8 spots there for these 8 units, but for the ADUs, they didn't. So it was, and they met the height requirements. They're 3-story. It's a beautiful new building.
Well, I think I'm not defending it, but I think part of it is because cities for so long have been using parking requirements as an excuse not to build more housing.
Right.
So I get that. It's
but this one here, but it should be, this was a house that's got a driveway. And now it's going to be 8 units, and I parked there in that street. I went there. I do my homework before. It's going to be tough on parking, even though on there. And then they do have 8 spots on board, but it's a 3-story. Anyway, it's a beautiful new design. One of our commissioners thought it was too dense or too high, but the buildings next to it are just as high.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-to-1 vote. There's only 4 of us on the planning commission, but that hearing went first. Then the Chick-fil-A was a long time.
Sure.
And then I wish we would have known about it or thought about it. All the people there were members of this mosque. And I felt so bad for them. We didn't get to them till like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they were there for 2.5 hours waiting. But Eric, I'm not kidding you. There must have been 50 people.
Yeah.
They came up and spoke, and
good for them. I mean, they're passionate.
That's what I'm saying. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
He said, "Look, we started in 2007. We bought more property next to us because we needed to expand. I guess on Fridays there's 5 daily prayers and everything else. But he says families are moving into the city because we love our mosque and it's growing and this and that." And it was a no-brainer. I mean, the city staff was recommending it. You go through the plans and you see everything, and it made sense. There are 2 properties next to them. They're going to demolish these old houses.
That makes sense.
So it was a no-brainer. Yeah. But they were so appreciative when I said, "Listen, there's no reason not to. Thank you for being in our city," and so forth. And then they started applauding. And then Carrie Uva and Horacio, they said similar comments, and they started. So they were so grateful.
Yeah.
God bless them. Anyways, it was really good. I felt terrible. We should have moved them to the front of the agenda because theirs was 5 minutes. There was nothing controversial, but you don't know that.
You don't know that they're going to show up.
By the way, so here's something else that I know council, watching the council meeting, they talked about having electronic plans being submitted by the architect and so forth.
Why don't we have these already?
It's a great question. So one of the things on the Planning Commission, like on the Wednesday or Thursday before the Wednesday, you get a packet delivered to your house. It's on the front door, which is kind of interesting in itself.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's the way they've always done it.
Is it a man in a briefcase?
No, it's in a big yellow envelope, but it's this thick,
Yeah.
okay? And then you open it up, and there's these 3 things, and each one has the plans this big. The plans are as big as this table, and they're all folded, and they're
Yeah.
all this thick.
Yeah.
And, I go through, and I always do my homework. I go through it, and I go online. I don't need, there's enough pictures in there and stuff like that. I open one up, I see it. I don't need the rest of the other
Right.
15 pages. It just seems like a waste of paper.
Right.
I even said that to Commissioner Uva, and I'm like, why do we have this big thing?
Right.
Why can't we get electronically? And then I watched the city council, and they were talking about it. So it was
Right.
finally brought up to do that. I don't know why we hadn't had it, and it hadn't impacted me until now.
Right.
You know,
Well, I remember even, former Mayor Fernando Vasquez, back when he was on the city council, he brought up the whole
Yeah.
electronic permitting
Yeah.
and records process. And
Yeah.
I don't know why it hasn't happened either.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Eric, I don't know. We keep having comments from developers and so forth that we're just not business friendly there.
Yeah.
I hope now with the new administration and the new regime, we do all that because it's. I mean, I've heard from contractors, hey, I don't want to do business in the city of Downey because this, this, and that. And I'm working with 2 that have asked me my thoughts on it. And I told them, and they can't. I couldn't believe one wants to build 40 condos, and the city should reach out to them. And it's in a dead space that nobody else would ever want to build. And it's like embrace them. And then it's been this way for 3 years.
There's going to be changes at City Hall. They're coming with the new city manager. I'm sure he'll bring in some people. There's been some departures already. So I think it's a good time right now for some fresh change.
Right. Let's talk about this a year from now and see where we're at, because then that'll be the true indication of it. And, and
we're also going to talk about Chick-Fil-A. We'll look and see how
I know.
that's going.
All right. You and I'll buy you lunch there.
All right.
And we'll do it in our car, and we'll get out of our car and go in, and then we'll drive out.
Okay.
And let's do it during school hours.
And let's see how long it takes us.
Anyway, so good on there. I thought it was interesting. Always good talking to you. We're going to make this a shorter episode, I think.
Yeah, good.
I do like talking about the Planning Commission because the purpose for this show, Talking Downey, was for our residents to know this stuff.
And there's stuff that goes before the Planning Commission that's actually very interesting. You get to see sometimes new restaurants coming in, and if you don't follow the Planning Commission, and really who does, you wouldn't know what's going on.
Eric, I was on the council for 8 years, and I had a great Planning Commissioner, Robert Kiefer, and of course some things got kicked up to the city council, but. Yeah, there's a lot of decisions that are made of the Planning Commission that I didn't realize as much. But it is interesting.
Yeah,
I'm getting used to different parts of my brain, and I'm enjoying it. And I don't. Oh, by the way, there's a couple of gadflies still come in.
Sure.
So let me tell you this. This is for you at home on there. So the meeting is. The things are over at 9:30. Okay. Remember, I just flew in. Right. I'm fumes. Hungry. 6:30 to 9:30. So we're done with the voting thing, and we say goodbye to all the nice Muslims. They're all happy, they're waving, and they're all leaving. So who's left? 4 gadflies. Okay. So we took a break for a second, then we come in, and then they each get 4 minutes, and there's nobody else there. There's nothing on the agenda. This is at public, non-agenda public comment. So we have to sit there and hear cussing and being called names and whatever. It's the same, 4 idiots and stuff. And you sit there and you're like, okay, so you just stand there. So I said, okay, 4 minutes times 4, so you got 16 minutes.
Yeah.
And then so we ended at before 10. But it was just 16 minutes of my life. I actually thought of leaving because they're not making any comments that are pertinent to the Planning Commission. To add anything or whatever. Maybe the council, they want to be heard.
Sure.
But one of the gadflies, because they turned off the cameras now at city council, when the gadfly down, he brings his own camera on himself. He puts it up there. I thought that was interesting.
Oh, I admire the dedication, I guess, because to stay for that long. But I do think it is a good idea, I think, to move the public comment towards the end.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to expose people in the audience and that kind of stuff.
Well, but remember, here's the sad thing is, at a public hearings, which each one of them was, they got to come up
Sure.
and give that and give their time. So at first, the people in the audience, because they hadn't heard the
Right.
F word
Right.
and the N word by
Yeah.
these idiots and stuff like, oh my God, it was so, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it
just
is
embarrassing. So,
Good.
all right.
Good talk, Mario.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. On there, I look forward to our next episode. I know next week we're going to General Gary Brito, 4-star general from TRADOC, is going to be here in town. I know that we're going to be there and get an opportunity to interview him and talk to him, and we'll post that appropriately. But then we have a couple other things more Downey related.
Yeah, there's always something happening in Downey.
I know.
Yeah.
So, really exciting. Okay, I know you have it. By the time this guy, you'll be excited. You'll have it. But the barriers in front of Bastards in Peking, China, that have taken those 10 parking spots when they already took down they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone this morning. They're gone.
So Downey Avenue is fully wide open now.
You can park. Why am I looking at the light? They're looking at the camera.
Yeah.
They're gone. Downey Avenue is normal again all the way through. And you and I being here so
And I still want to get to a point where we close down Downey Avenue, make it pedestrian friendly, at least for the weekends. At least for the weekends.
Oh, we can with the barriers, and we can do that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
That's the purpose of the night market and stuff like that. We'll get there.
Absolutely. We'll get there.
But not during the day, because I think it was a waste. We had to close for 6 months, and nobody went there. And half of them, there's nothing to go there. So we don't agree on that.
We don't, because I think I want to see a walkable, pedestrian-friendly downtown where you can kind of get around. You don't have to be inhaling these fumes.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, but
I want to be able to walk downtown to go someplace. But when you have the Masonic Lodge over there. Oh, by the way, the poor Masonic Lodge, that the wind knocked over that wall.
Yeah.
It's not the Masonic Lodge's fault down there. It's construction and everything else, and hit a couple cars underneath.
Yeah.
Thank goodness nobody was
But
hurt.
nobody was hurt.
Yeah,
That's good.
All right, so listen, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our sponsor, Financial Partners. We'll keep going. You see the conversation. Actually, it's good. Eric and I don't agree on a lot of things on there, so it makes it a little bit of fun too.
Yeah.
So that's all good. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Talking Downey with Mario
And Eric.